So, I want to give a quick reminder for the Black women who are complaining about my content being unrealistic. And this is not directed at the majority of my audience, just the loud minority of Black women who can't relate to my content, but also cannot stop watching it and complaining about it in their videos. And before I continue, make sure you watch the new videos on my second channel, Fem Strategy. I finally started posting over there again, and I'm doing archetype strategies and analysis based on movie and TV characters. I'll also be doing some other content over there. And it's also non-race related, not a lot of politics and stuff. So if you're interested in watching that and you want a break from the kind of content I do on this channel, definitely go subscribe. The link is in the description box. Now, back to the video. So I noticed that any lifestyle that Black women want to live that is outside of struggle is labeled unrealistic online, mostly by Black men, but by Black women too, unfortunately. And it does not matter what kind of non-struggle lifestyle it is. It could be Black women who are happily single and on a decentering men journey. You know, a lot of the girls are doing that right now. It could be Black women who are happily child-free, Black women who are practicing hypergamy, Black women who are living in luxury, dating interracially, etc. And it really feels like ever since Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned Black women, started creating spaces for Black women that center us and our image and our desires, or spaces that elevate us in any way, there seems to be an uptick and obsession of Black people especially telling us what we can't do, telling us what we can't enjoy, and what is supposedly impossible for us. And we know why that is, right? It's because they don't want to lose their social justice warriors. They don't want to lose their mules. They don't want to lose their sacrificial lambs and their workhorses and come up women, etc., etc. And this is also why they're still pushing the SJW self-sacrificing Black woman narrative in the media like they did in the movie Wicked. Definitely check out my video on that if you haven't, by the way. But Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned Black women, centering ourselves quite literally threatens the status quo. And a lot of people suffer from us being self-first and self-interested. And this is why so many people are trying to control Black women the most and convince us that we have no options. And according to them, Black women can't do nothing. We can't date up. We can't grow long hair. We can't enjoy luxury because it's elitist. We can't date or marry non-Black men because absolutely none of them want us. We can't lose weight because it's Eurocentric. We can't be single and child-free and happy because there's supposedly no such thing as a woman who's happy without men and children. And it's like, is there anything Black women can do according to these people? Because if you listen to the internet, the only thing that is supposedly realistic for us is living a struggle life with a Black man. Basically, that's pretty much what they're saying is the only thing that's realistic. Anything outside of that is unrealistic, or before we enjoy any kind of non-struggle lifestyle, we have to do the impossible and fix the whole community first, or destroy the patriarchy and all other oppressive systems. If all oppressive systems are not destroyed, then our success isn't real or it's unrealistic. That is pretty much what these people are saying. And then when we show examples of the lifestyles that we're talking about being realistic for some of us, we're either accused of faking our lifestyles or the goalpost moves, and they say, oh, well, that's just a minority of Black women. Okay, and let's go with that. It's just a minority. Fine. And there are going to be platforms for the minority of Black women who everything I mentioned earlier is realistic for. If that is not you, then go to the places that reflect your reality. Don't project that on the rest of us. And I am so not trying to be tone deaf. I'm not trying to be mean. I know a lot of people are struggling right now. I know the economy is bad or it's not the best. But if the content is not relatable because you're still struggling, stop torturing yourself by watching. Take yourself out of your misery and unsubscribe, because there are quite a bit of Black women who are thriving, who are leveling up. And it's almost like it's taboo for us to create spaces for Black women who have similar experiences, or for Black women who want to have those experiences. And it seems like these people won't be satisfied unless we come online and say that Black women have no options and will never be successful in life And nobody outside of Pookie or Ray Ray is ever going to want us. Or unless we use our platforms to just always talk about everything horrible that's going on in the world. Oh, yeah. And some women want us to talk about swearing off men altogether because they chose poorly. To these people, promoting anything outside of struggle or destroying all oppressive systems is quote unquote selling a dream to Black women. And nobody will fully admit what I just said, but that is really what they want to hear Black women talk about in our spaces all the time. Social justice warring, struggle love, struggle life, world events and everything going wrong in the world, and or radical feminism and the total exclusion of men. That is it. And you know what? Since that is the case, my platform will never be relatable to most Black women, and I'm okay with that. And I'll say this again for any Black woman that is new here. This channel is not for all Black women. It is a channel for Black women who resonate with the content. Nobody can make a channel that is relatable to everybody in a certain demographic. So I should not be expected to be relatable to all Black women. Isn't it Black women who always say that Black women aren't a monolith? Yeah, so Black women are the monolith. So why are you expecting us to be exactly the same and relate to each other on everything and be talking about the same exact thing in every single space? That is unrealistic. And I noticed that other Black women especially are extremely intolerant of Black women having a variety of options, a variety of online spaces that serve different purposes. And they hate other Black women who live a lifestyle that they themselves don't live. And because they don't want to live that lifestyle, or because they feel it's not accessible to them or not realistic for them, they want you to believe it's unrealistic for you too, even if it's not. And look, I am all for not selling Black women a dream, but that is not what's happening over here. Unrealistic and selling Black women a dream would be me saying that every Black woman is going to get a millionaire or a rich man, or promising that all Black women can get rich and live a soft life of leisure and luxury 24/7 and just have a perfect life with a perfect man. Totally unrealistic, which is why you've never heard me say any of that. But telling Black women, hey, if you're going to date up or date your equal financially, try to make the most strategic life decisions so you can level up and live a life that is as soft as possible. Take time out for leisure, expand your options to non-Black men. There is nothing unrealistic about any of that. Black women are literally doing those things every single day. I'm around them in my real life. I see them online as well. And I noticed that the main demographic of Black women who are saying what I just said is unrealistic are either dating broke Black men, they're baby mamas to broke Black men, they made very poor life decisions or non-strategic life choices, and it hindered them from leveling up. And so they're telling you that you can't level up. They've never had a chance to experience leisure or the soft life for a sufficient amount of time in their lives, either due to their upbringing, their financial status, or life circumstances. And while I can totally empathize with that, I also grew up working class. I grew up in the inner city and was still able to level up and do all of the things that we're being told is so unrealistic and so impossible for Black women. I was able to level up through education. I was able to level up using my own skills. I was able to level up through dating and through all of the people, both men and women, that I surrounded myself with. And there are many other Black women who have my same story. I'm not a special snowflake. I am surrounded by leveled up Black women in my real life, and many of you are my subscribers. So this is real for us. This is realistic for us. And look, it does not matter if you don't believe us, by the way. Does not matter if you don't believe me, because listen, I will never get caught up in the trap of trying to prove my life to people online, because nothing will ever be good enough. And I've learned that over the years. It does not matter if you think I'm a liar. I am still going to make level up content, and there's nothing you can do about that. But you're just not going to be able to convince Black women like me and the women over here that leveling up is unrealistic just because we're Black women, or because we didn't come for money, or because racism and all the other isms exist. Speak for yourself. And ladies, this is why you should stop listening to leveled down Black women tell you what you can and can't do and what you can't get, because they're projecting. And think about it. How is someone who's never experienced something going to tell you what it's like? For example, I see all of these Black women online talking like they're experts on high earning men and hypergamy, but you never dated a high earning man. You got pro-Black women online and red pill women discussing non-Black men who date Black women and interracial relationships, but they only been with Black men. So how do you know about that subject? Or if they dated a non-Black man, they dated one and they dated a dusty non-Black man. So they're telling other Black women that all non-Black men are dusty. No, you just got with a dusty non-Black man, sis. That's not all of them. And not all of us are going to have that experience. And look, I am definitely a part of the not all men crew because I've dated high earning men of all races, black, white, and other. So I just can't say that all men are dusty. And if that makes me a pick me, then so be it. And recently I've seen a few of my detractors say, oh, well, Chrissie needs to stop promoting hypergamy because dating in general supports the patriarchy. And so does everything else you do in life. Listen, if you're so concerned about supporting the patriarchy, get off YouTube. Get off of YouTube if you don't want to support the patriarchy and oppressive systems, because patriarchal white men run this shit. They run the internet. And if me dating men for my individual happiness is seen as going against the sisterhood, then so be it. Because most of you talking shit, you would never politicize your dating life for another woman. And you've never done that in your life. Most of you haven't. And let's be real. For those women who say, oh, Chrissie should be promoting that women don't date men at all. Most of you have only sworn off men because you've been dealing with dusties all your life, or one of them trapped you with a baby. It has nothing to do with the sisterhood for most of you. Let's just be honest about that. And I'm not talking about women who are content with their choices. I'm not talking about women who don't want to date men anymore, and they also respect other women's choices to still date. I am talking about the women who are harassing me and women like me and trying to shame us for not living the lifestyle they do, or trying to act like we're traitors of the sisterhood when they have never sacrificed their happiness and desires for another woman. Y'all can miss me with that fake sisterhood stuff. Sisterhood is not real, not on a collective level. I have sisterhood in my real life and with some of my real online supporters, but not you women who are trying to control my channel and control other women's dating behavior. There was one woman under the last video that I did about Wicked, and she was like, oh, well, this is why you shouldn't promote interracial dating. White men created colorism. They're pushing it in the media. And she also said, oh, well, how can you complain about colorism and then create light-skinned children? First off, you can create a light-skinned child with a black man. So that argument has always been dumb to me, because it's totally unrealistic to expect dark-skinned women who discuss colorism to only procreate with dark-skinned men to create dark-skinned children. You're basically telling us to limit our options only to dark-skinned black men. That's not going to happen for every dark-skinned black woman. And every other group, whether it be black men, light-skinned women, they have dark-skinned children, sometimes dark-skinned daughters, and they still prioritize themselves and their own phenotype. So dark-skinned women can do that too in the spaces that we have. We're not beholden to all light-skinned people or obligated to promote all light-skinned people or protect them just because we have light-skinned children. That's not how this works. People have dark-skinned daughters all the time, and they don't feel like they have to protect or promote dark-skinned women. So over here, we give the same selfish energy, and we don't give a fuck about it. You're not going to be able to corner us with that talking point over here. It will not work. Now, to the other point she made, saying that we shouldn't date white men because they created colorism, that is actually false. And I talked about this in a past video, but colorism existed before European colonialism. And I am not sure why that's never talked about. The information is out there, is readily available. And I almost think you're doing it intentionally just so you could bring this up and somehow try to fearmonger and scare Black women out of swirling. But there were several pre-colonial societies that valued and elevated light skin. In ancient Egypt, lighter skin was associated with higher status. Asia, specifically places like India and China. And I know that we as Black Americans are specifically affected by colorism in the West, colorism that started during slavery, but white men didn't actually create colorism. Other men of color did, if you want to get technical about it. And this is not me caping for white men or anything. I'm just telling you the facts. And even if the argument is, oh, well, Black women shouldn't date white men because of the way they perpetuate colorism in the media, then why are y'all still dating Black men? Why do you have babies by Black men? They do the same thing white men do when they're in control. So why are you still dealing with them? And if the argument is, oh, well, white men made them do it, they were brainwashed, why do you have babies with men who are so weak-minded? Why do you have a baby by a Black man if they were able to be conquered by another group of men? Why do you have a baby by a Black man when they haven't collectively built anything for the Black community and Black women and children, and we have to rely on other men for our survival? Why? Since every Black woman has to make our individual life choices based on what the collective of men haven't done for women, why are you still dealing with Black men if that is your logic? Because you don't politicize your dating life for other women. That's why. Because you don't make individual decisions based on the collective. That's why. So if you didn't do that for the sisterhood, don't expect me to. If you found an individual man who is good to you to procreate with, despite what the collective is doing, then don't expect other women not to do the same thing. I'm sorry, but I am not going to allow baby mamas, women with children, lesbians, divorced women, and women who still deal with men to hold me to a higher standard that they held themselves. Don't expect me to stay away from men when you couldn't even do it, sis. Don't expect me to not date individual white men because a group of white male elites that I don't even know are promoting colorism in the media. That's not how life works. Just like your individual baby daddy was good enough to give a baby to, my individual white man, who is not colorist, is good enough to date. So I'm dating him. This is the real world. Most people are going to choose based on their individual wants and needs. They're not going to choose solely based on politics and structures and systems they can't change in their lifetime, even if they aren't altogether happy with them. That is how the world works. And if you're not willing to have a realistic conversation about that, you don't belong on this channel. And to expect Black women especially to do what nobody else is doing is once again expecting us to mule and mammy and make all these sacrifices and follow rules that nobody else is following and make sacrifices that nobody else is making. And this is yet another brainwashing tactic that they use specifically on Black women if we want to do anything outside of the Black community and Black culture, especially if we want to date or marry out. They try to make it about all these systems and structures and politics when it's nothing to do with that. You just don't want to see Black women going outside the community. That is your problem. And you just need to be honest about that. And by the way, I just want to remind Black women who are looking to date or marry non-Black men, stop listening to non-interracial daters tell you what your dating options are, because in the real world, Black women are dating and marrying non-Black men. And many are dating and marrying hypergamously to non-Black men and Black men as well. Now, obviously, it's more rare with Black men, but they're out there too. And if you follow some of the Black woman interracial dating pages on Instagram or TikTok, you'll find Black women of all skin tones, all hair textures, all body types, all nationalities, all income levels, different levels of attractiveness that are with non-Black men. It's not impossible to do like people are trying to make it out to be online. That's why I said some of y'all really need to get out and touch grass and experience life outside. And I know the argument is going to be, oh, well, only 1% of non-Black men are marrying Black women or are interested in Black women. But when you combine that number, and notice how they always say 1%, but don't give the raw number. 1% of all non-Black men, that is literally millions of men. And as Dr. Ralph Richard Banks has already stated, whatever that raw number is, outnumbers the entire population of Black women. And not all Black women want to date out anyway. So those of us who are interested in non-Black men, we don't need more than 1% of non-Black men to want us. 1% is more than enough. And again, that is another thing they do. It's brainwashing, saying 1% to make this number seem smaller than it is. Y'all gotta recognize and wake up to the games people are playing on you to try to limit your options to Black men only. And for the people who say, oh, well, non-Black men aren't promoting interracial dating with Black women, why are you doing that for them? Why are you man-stroking them, Chrissie? Why are you worshiping non-Black men? That argument isn't gonna work over here either. Telling Black women that they have options because Black men in the community are actively trying to limit Black women to Black men only is not man-stroking or worshiping non-Black men. I've said several times that all races of men have flaws. You need to vet all races of men. You've heard me say that over and over again. But just be honest about what you really want me to say. You really want me to tell Black women that we have no options outside of Black men. That's what you really want me to say. You won't be happy until I say that, and I'm not going to say it. Don't ever expect me to stop encouraging luxury and the soft life for Black women. Don't ever expect me to stop encouraging them to be feminine, first and foremost for themselves. Don't ever expect me to stop promoting hypergamy and interracial dating or dating period to Black women who want to date. There will always be Black women who want or have those things that I just mentioned, including myself. I'm not going to stop dating. I'm not going to stop swirling. I'm not going to stop living in luxury. And I'm also not going to stop talking about all those things on my channel to appease other Black women who can't relate or to appease Black men who don't want Black women to have shit. And I'm also going to discuss colorism from time to time as well when I feel it's necessary, like I did on my last video about Wicked. I'm always going to make the content that I want to make. There's nothing anyone on this app can do about it. So ladies, in the comments, share something that you're doing or something that you've experienced that the haters online told you Black women couldn't do. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you follow my second channel, and I'll catch up with you in the next one.